All right. So it is 7 p.m. Welcome to STEAM Secrets. I am Sandra Roach. I'm a life coach, so I go by Coach Roach. Yes, it rhymes. All right. And I have the privilege to introduce our next expert, which is an expert in technology and a whole lot of other things. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you're looking for. And STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. So we want to make sure we're hitting all of those letters, like focusing on all of those. So we did our arts and the language arts earlier with Tara Lee. And she did a great job offering us resources. And right now we have Mrs. Jacqueline Sanders-Blackman, and I am going to read her bio so you can hear all the wonderful things that she's done, because she's incredible. Okay. Jacqueline Sanders-Blackman is an award-winning children's book author, award-winning STEM advocate, as well as a creator of Espresso Kids STEM curriculum. But that's just one of the hats she wears. Her second hat is that of a technologist. For over 10 years, she has navigated the corporate jungle until she launched her own brand 10 years ago and created her technology company, Technology Espresso, along with her husband, David Blackman. Later, they launched Espresso Kids Foundation because of the obvious void of minority representation in STEM. She is a certified transformation coach. She coaches large-scale corporate transformations to help them adjust to become agile in rapidly changing business world. And more recently, she consults with educators and parents to help them also embrace being agile in order to navigate the rapid changes in the educational and academic world. She's offering her insight into STEM to help kids of color get ahead of the STEM curve and to take the lead of the STEM of the future. Her Espresso STEAM curriculum has educated all ages and all groups from preschool to high school. And she coaches parents, teachers, college, and provides career coaching as well. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Mrs. Jacqueline Sanders-Blackman. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One of the things that I always like to clarify, when you call me in particular an expert, I always think the expert just means someone that's made a lot of mistakes, but keeps trying and keeps learning. So, and surrounds themselves with awesome people like Coach Roach, Sandra.
Wonderful. And I feel like when you've, like, for instance, you have over a decade of experience in technology. And so that that's a lot of knowledge and a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom that comes into it. So what was your heart-centered mission when you went into technology?
Well, that's very interesting. Really, honestly, I tell some people, especially when I first went into it, and let truth be told, because I've got some people on here that will keep me honest. I've been in the industry 3 decades. I've had my own company for over a decade. So, but I was one of those odd people that knew out of even probably right after high school that computers was the area that I wanted to go into. Part of it was that I realized that computers helps make everything easy. It's like, why should I sit here and add up all these numbers if I can make the computer do it? So that was my first catalyst. But let's translate that into more sophisticated terms. I like to solve problems.
No, I agree. The whole engineering, just the whole being able to solve problems and providing solutions is very critical during this stage. And as our world is, taking a turn, sometimes it's tough for people to navigate through that change. So, how are you able to do that, given the situation and dealing with kids?
Yep. Well, actually, one of the things about IT and technology, that it kind of prepared those people who have been in technology as long as I have, is that right out of the gate, it was right out of college, right when I got my first job, the first thing I had to do is go into a training program. And they taught us a different way, how they wanted things done. And then the next company. So we got instilled into us in IT, because IT is constantly changing, that was the only constant, was change.
Wow.
So we got embedded in us continuous learning. And so one of the things, and that is, as I work with companies, and still sometimes companies slip into one way of doing things. We've done things this way for so long, business as usual. But there's been kind of a movement for the last 10 years that said, look, you need to be agile, you need to be nimble. The world is speeding up. Technology is speeding everything up. Our customers are more sophisticated now. The problems are more complex. So that being said, when COVID hit, those of us who have been agile advocates said, we told you. and now it's like, no one has a choice. The world as we know it has changed suddenly. And it's all about you leaning into the change, leading into a new way, not looking forward to when we go back to, it's all forward from here. And so everything's been disrupted. But the one thing that again, it's a mindset thing, because when we teach corporations to change how they work, the first thing we have to do is work with your mindset. It has to be a growth and learning mindset, not I already know everything I need to know. And there's some career fields, you get that degree and it's like, okay, this is what I need to know. I can go get my job, start my career, and I'm good to go. But that's no longer the option. And so building in that growth mindset is everything's a learning opportunity. And so, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I agree, because with, there's a lot of distractions and obstacles that has happened. And I feel like when there's obstacles, there's opportunity. So
Yes.
Is there a way, can you tell us why you think how this whole coronavirus, the COVID-19, has impacted us and caused schools to close, and how potentially that could be an opportunity for students and even students of color to, get ahead and lean in, like you said, to the different opportunities of growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things is that, a lot of people fall back into that mindset of let's get back to the good old days. Well, let's rewind a little bit and let's be honest that a lot of kids were coming home frustrated. They weren't getting what they need. They were just passing time. The teachers weren't giving or being the best that they could be. And that in a lot of instances, the school system was broken. There was some, it was failing. And it was failing a lot of minority students. And it was failing them and preparing them for the STEM and the jobs and the careers and what it's going to look like in the future. So here's a reset button. Here's a do-over where parents, instead of thinking, okay, let's rush back to the way it was, this is also an opportunity for, and I think Tara Lee, she also touched upon this too. It's a time for you to have some conversations with your child to find out what is their learning style, what motivates them, what are they interested in. So by us being forced in the same house day in and day out, and I know sometimes that it gets on, can be nerve-wracking, but let's not also miss the opportunity to learn your child again, to learn where they are and what they need. And this is an opportunity that every child, something we didn't have, can have a customized learning experience instead of going back to the cookie cutter learning experience. So, and that, I think that dovetails with a lot of what Tarlee said, which was, you know, let them read stuff they enjoy. That's why I write with what I write, is I was trying to connect with, whether it's if you're into your hair or you're into makeup or fashion or sports, well, if they can read about it and I can link it to STEM, then we've connected the dots.
So what do you mean when you use teaching methods that go outside the lines?
So, and I think I have to keep borrowing from Tarlee because she set it up perfectly, is, you know, I like that, turn it around to what they like and what they enjoy. And so, you know, I was like a little bit apprehensive, like, if I tell them that if the teacher sends all these, you know, workbooks and these papers home and the kid is just dreading it and there's tears and everybody's, you know, up in arms, then hey, push away from it for a minute and step back and say, can I get you to that same, you know, whatever you need to learn, the connection you need to learn. So luckily Tara said it first, so I'm just repeating what she said. So
yeah, you said it really nicely. It was really good because kids have to want to learn, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and especially in, let's say, sometimes when people think of, okay, reading and writing, you're like, it's part of a curriculum. But when you think about technology and engineering, it just seems so far-fetched. And so what do you do when you're trying to get that kid to be interested in that field, especially with, you know, tech and AI being of the future? So it forces you to think outside of the line. You have to go outside the box in order to change, make the change and grow where you need to be. So how do you facilitate those conversation? Or even as a parent, you may not feel like you're good enough or equipped to do that, because sometimes parents are home, they'll try to do whatever the teacher gives them. You bring that packet home, they're like, okay, so Bobby, we're gonna, here's what you gotta do. They're gonna do all this stuff. And Bobby's like, Mom, like, stop. Like, and I'm a firm believer, you want kids to learn to love, like love to learn things. And so if you're making it a stressor and making it painful, they're less likely to embrace the newness of new concepts, new genres, just in technology in general. So how do you, like you said, how do you get them to think outside the box and even be courageous to learn something they're unfamiliar with?
So there's a couple of things to tie into that. One of the things that I'm even going to challenge parents, ask yourself, are you enjoying it? Would you enjoy this? You know, they're your child, they're your spawn. So if you don't enjoy it, will they enjoy it? And so one of the things is that, like you said, is we're going to have, you know, our kitchens are turning into our science labs. And hey, we got to cook dinner tonight. So let's talk about measurements. Let's talk about fractions. Let's talk about, you know, we even talk about, you know, all the things that you do in the kitchen. You're mixing chemicals together and getting a reaction. You're heating up that oven and you're getting a reaction. And back to Tarlee, that, you know, let's talk about what just happened. Why did that happen? Why didn't it happen this way? If we added a little bit more, a little bit less, what would that reaction be? And so if you're laughing and you're enjoying it and you're accomplishing something and you can see the fruits of your labors, then we can take that into, well, let's read about that. You know, what was that? Well, let's write about that. Let's do, you know, or let's come up with our own recipes. Let's be creative. So right there, and what technology did we use to accomplish this? We've done STEM right there, just making dinner. So it's like, or if you like, you know, your child likes getting their hair done or changing their hairstyle or being in the mirror or taking, you know, well, let's lean into that. What is that? What's the history behind that? What's the history behind cameras and how the evolution of those? So it's like, one of the things is that I think like with STEM, a lot of times, especially whether it's technology or math, it gets isolated that it's a course in itself. No, their life, and then let's pick up on life and see where STEM fits in. I tell people, tell me what your kid likes and I can tell you how it relates to STEM. Because whether it's science and it's natural and it's organic, technology, whether we're using, you know, the logic of the computer or engineering something that we've made, or math, doing the numbers around it, everything around us is tied to STEM. So you don't have to go and even find it or look for it, find what you're passionate about. And then something that we also need to teach our kids is, if it's not your thing, it's not your favorite thing, then ask for help. Because, and I'm going to do a little infomercial, there are nerds like us, like Coach Roach, who loves math. And if you want to throw a math problem her way, she'll take care of that for you. There's people like, you know, I like to tinker, you know, I like to, you know, I'm all about logic and problems and breaking down things. So analytics, that's my thing. So there's someone out there that it's your thing. So we've got to create our village and find the parents that this is your thing, and find the organizations and the resources. And think, again, this is why, you know, Sandra, what you're doing is, again, helping bring these villages together and realize whatever you don't like, there's some nerd like me that loves it.
I agree. And, you know, sometimes kids are coming from, you know, different backgrounds, economic statuses, and all that stuff. And I feel like we need to let people know that everyone has the capacity to learn, you know? So we have to make sure that we're able to do it. So my question to you are, what are some dangerous learning biases that we can pass on to our kids?
Absolutely. This is one that's also near and dear to my heart, because sometimes we accuse the school sometimes of limiting our child or pigeonholing our child, but sometimes we even do it. One of my pet peeves is hearing when a parent says, my child doesn't like math. I know, I'm sorry. And one of the things that I say is replace that with, I haven't found my style yet. I haven't found my learning style. What works for me, what resonates for me, makes it tangible and relatable to me. And that's something that's also, I think, very important. And this is why, you know, our curriculum around it, Espresso, so that they can see people like them of color. It's got to be relatable. See them in environments and situations like, oh yeah, we do that at my house. Yeah, that's what we do on Saturday. That looks like our Sunday morning. Making it all relatable, making them see math, even that math is in the room that you're sitting in right now. There is a math equation. There is some engineering that went on in that room. So once they can see it and they see that it relates to them, prime example, even music, dance, it has rhythm, it has a lot of math in it. And so showing them the things that they love and they enjoy and they relate to, and how it ties back to STEM. So the biggest thing for parents, be careful about the language that you use. And sometimes even some parents, let's be honest, they have shut down their learning. You know, has your kid ever seen you with a book? Has your kid ever, you know, has your kid ever seen, you know, Tara, I got the thumbs up from her, you know. So that's one of the things that I think is part of this new COVID era too, is that parents are going to have to also kind of brush off, you know, it's like, I've learned what I need to learn. I have my career, you know, but it's got to be a family effort. It's got to be a group effort. You all have to be able to maybe read and talk about a book and laugh about a book or dissect if it's a movie. I love all the options that Tara gave, but it's like, if you just send them to their room to do this thing and all they want to do is hurry up and get it done so they can be social, you might have a social learner. They don't like being isolated. They want to interact with you. And I have a friend, and she might be online with this now. I love this story. Her little one, it's like, okay, your teacher said go read a book. And if your child says, but I want to read to you. So sometimes you have to carve out that time and let them, because they needed that kind of interaction. What they're saying is, this is my style. And sometimes we're missing the cues, or this is my interest. I have, other stories even where a mother, I love this story. She might be on with us tonight too also, but her daughter, she's like, she read about STEM and she honed in on technology. So she's like, I'm gonna send my daughter to coding camp because this is the future. Gotta send her to coding camp. Well, there were a lot of tears, but she said, but in the meantime, she said that at night, she noticed that there was a collection of what she called dirt on her dresser, and she kept throwing it in the trash, and finally she said, quit bringing dirt in my house. And she said, no, they're rocks, Mom, and they're each different, and look at them. And then she said, aha, she's like, no, she likes the natural science. I'm trying to push one thing on her and hear what I call dirt. And now, so we got her immersed in science. And once she got with a scientist, she looked at her and she said, she's a natural. This is where she belongs. So listen and look for the cues, and then pull that in and let them read about it and let them write about it and take it from there.
That's interesting. Tying both what you're talking about, Jacqueline, and what Tara Lee spoke about. Like my son, he was so obsessed with animals, and he had the adjectives, like if you said frog, he was red-eyed tree frogs. Like he started spitting out all this stuff. And me, being an electrical engineer, I'm trying to push engineer. I'm like, STEM. I'm all about that STEM life. So finally, I just started listening to him, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he really knows what he's doing. And so I was like, maybe marine biologist or something, because he was so entrenched on the marine part and all the different type of animals. And so he's a fourth grader now, but around second grade, he just didn't want to write. And he would read, but writing was just kind of tough. Finally, I was like, something, when you're making those observations out there, you need to write it until you can pay someone to write it for you. You need to read or write, buddy. Because you have to do the research and documentation. What if you found something and you discovered something? You have to take notes. So tying that in, and he kind of built his interest, because there goes the whole A in STEM. So put that in there because, and so it pushed him more to want to write and to inquire and all that. So that's really good. And I like what you said about the biases. Now, I know you're an author, so I know you got a couple of STEM and scientist books out there. So what was your motivation, and what type of what's the content?
Okay, and actually, I've got to put one last disclaimer out there for a lot of people, as those who tuned in to hear about STEM, is the one thing that I want to emphasize is that having your children exposed to STEM isn't for the sole purpose of them becoming scientists, technologists, engineering, or mathematicians, to be honest with you. If they want to become singers and they want to be dancers, and that's fine too. But one of the things that understand why the big shift to STEM. The STEM disciplines are about a type of thinking. And it's about, and you talked about this, it's about critical thinking. As I said in the very beginning, problem solving. And one of the things you need to help with young people who are trying to connect the dots, who are saying, I don't want to be a scientist, I don't want to be a technologist. It's you're using a different part of your brain. Just like there's parts of your brains that you use, and for when you're doing reading and writing and history, and some of that is a lot of repetition and memorization. Where on the right side of on the left side of your brain, what we're trying to get you to do is to question things and to look at things a different way, to reimagine things. And I say all that because that's where innovation and inventions come from. So whatever field that you go into, also think about being that person that it changes the whole way it's done. The way you learn it isn't the way that it has to be done. So that whole questioning aspect, system thinking and design thinking. And so at the end of the day, one of the things I tell parents is you want to rear whole brain children. You don't want them just left brain, you don't want them just right brain, because whatever they go into, they have to face and solve problems. And I'm putting that all out there because COVID has us all struggling to look at things differently, in a different way than we ever have. And that's where all that critical thinking. And so like any other muscle, you've got to exercise that muscle. So when they ask, why do I have to, if I don't want to go into one, these aren't career choices. This is teaching them using different parts of their brain. And so that's why I said, we want to raise whole brain children where they're using both sides of it. And if you have to incorporate the arts to take them to that, then by all means. We look at STEM, and I know we talk about the A. Sometimes the A is the door that you have to take them through to get to the rest of STEAM. It doesn't have to just start at one end or the other. So, but I got to answer your other question without a little selfless promotion. But some of you may know, I actually started with 2 books, and they're named after my parents, Smart Sarah and Perceptive PJ. And PJ likes math, and he's learning and he is training to be a mathlete. So some parents may not know that there's a Math Olympics, but PJ can tell you all about it. Okay. And what he does is he's interviewing members of his family who each have a different sports that they're good in, but they talk about their work ethics in order to win in sports. It's the same work ethics that you need for academics. So that's PJ. And then Smart Sarah, she's into the magic of science. Color and all of the esoteric things in the world, they just fascinate her. So she's always full of questions. And a lot of you probably know, I always say kids start out as scientists because they just one question after another. Why this? Why that? Why does it have to be that way? And one of the things we want to do is keep them asking questions. Don't stop them. Don't stifle them. It is because it is. Should not be an answer to an inquiring mind. Parents have to think in terms of, especially now when we're doing the home learning, is, well, let's explore that together. And to your point, one of the things that I did, I have a workbook that's all about sports and numbers. And I have books about, like I said, my latest one is a cookbook, because I talked about doing STEM. And they got some math problems to figure out the measurements. And we also give you some healthy tips so you learn about your body and science and how food interacts with your body. And then I have one on Sarah and hair. Her sister's into fashion, brother's into music. So wherever they are, they kind of, it kind of brings you back to STEM and exposes you to STEM. And of course, one of the things that I did, and this is for parents, is that I planted little seeds for parents so that it's just as fun for the parents to interact and read the book. And as we talk about sports, I give you kind of a sports legend from the African-American community. So some parents are gonna look at those pictures like, I remember that game, or I remember this player, or they can relate to it. And I've seen the same with grandparents. and speaking of, you know, interacting with the kids in the time of COVID, one of the parents or grandparents actually shared with me that she in the morning has a copy of the book, and her granddaughter has a copy of the book, and through Zoom they read the book. And she's been reading it to her so long now, she's reading it back to her grandmother. And they do that through Zoom, even in, you know, with this age of COVID. So.
And I have a copy of the book. Well, look at here.
Tara one.
Smart Sarah.
How did Sarah get over there?
Right? All the way in Cleveland, Ohio. Smart Sarah's right here. No, I really like, so thank you for all those nuggets. I love the whole brain piece because, you know, left side, you can't be, just be one-sided. So, and like you also shared that kids start off inquiring, why this and why that? I know, Tara Lee, you got some young ones, so they're constantly asking you why. And you're like, oh my goodness, why? And it's interesting. The other day, I was like looking, I was like, what does science mean anyways? We use science all the time, but science is observing the world around you, you know, questioning it and the whys and making observations and creating experiments to get to know more about the natural things that's happening. So it's great that we're naturally inquirers already. And so we want to be able to use the whole brain, and then also do things that's fun and engaging with our children in order to promote that growth and that learning, that reading, the writing, and going into just introducing them. Like you said, you don't have to go to STEM, but a field, but it's just the critical thinking. I feel like sometimes you don't have to just believe what people say. You have to question it. Like, just because you said this, so but that's me. I'm like, why? I have my why moments as an adult. Because I'm like, I'm not sure. Thank you for sharing, but I'm going to go do my research. So
and let's be honest. In the age of COVID, we need to use some of our critical thinking because we're being hit with a lot of numbers and a lot of facts and fiction. And I mean, you know, you have so much social media, and that's something that's very important too with our young people. They've got social media, so they in an age where you can't believe everything you read. You know, when we grew up, I joke about, what was it, the Encyclopedia Britannica? It's like, if it said it, it has to be facts. And now we know better, right? There's a lot that was left out of the history books, but that's for another day. Anyway,
not this conversation.
But our young people with social media and all these numbers, it's like, hey, you've got to question, you've got to connect the dots, you got to do comparative analysis, gap analysis, because, and I know parents can relate to this, you know, I know a lot of parents that are agonizing about the choice of whether to send their kids back to school right now. And that's a lot of data that they're taking in and that they're having to decipher to make which sometimes may feel like a life-threatening, you know, decision. So yes, critical thinking and that problem solving, and if you've got to, you know, lay it out and you're a visual person and you've got to really kind of grapple with this, that's when you need these problem solving skills. So again, at every turn of life, you know, we've got to make, and life keeps getting more and more complex. So understanding how to evaluate and to you know, be analytical, how to, you know, balance and realize what's emotional, what's logical, you know, that type of thing. That helps us with some of the big decisions that you have to make just as an adult.
Thank you. So before we go, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
If you can provide advice for parents during this COVID era, what be one of the advice?
My thing is, you know, lean into the change. Like I said, sometimes the biggest thing is building up that anxiety and feeling like there isn't one single right decision. You take the information you have and you've got to make those decisions. And I know Tara talked about, one of the things is that, a kid can't learn if they're anxious. A parent can't make good decisions as well if they're anxious. So take a deep breath, take the information you have. And then I think I want to tie it back to something that Tara Lee also said, is negotiate. Don't feel like that you do not have the power to talk to the school systems. And at the end of the day, if you've got to break ranks, you might find out that someone is just waiting for that first person to go ahead and say it. And if you know that it's the right thing in your heart, at the end of the day, we have to keep reminding ourselves that, especially as I look at and quite a few people on this call from the African American community, always remember we were built for this. We are tenacious, we are survivors, we can get through this. We've been through worse, actually, so we can get through this. So first of all, take a deep breath, take care of yourself, do some self-care, because these are big decisions, but we're gonna get through this. So lean into it, we're gonna make it, and that's why we're here together to help you through that as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Just so you know that Jacqueline and I had a chance to talk, and we want to give away one of those books.
Yeah. Would you like one?
Yes. So go ahead. You want to lead it? So I got to look at the chat to see what people. So everyone's on the chat. It's going to be a numbers game because.
Yes. Okay, so everybody, you found the chat window over there, and just to warm up, just say hi in the chat window. So I know everybody is ready. I know you might have been leaning back and shoot. There we go. Hello.
Yes.
There we go. Christina, Natalie. Who else? Okay, warm up those fingers. David. Hey, that's my other half.
Hey, David. Alexia's in here.
I love it. Perfect. Tara, you can jump in too. So I'm going to give you a trivia question, and the person that gets the closest, it's going to be a year. I'm looking for a year here. And the person that gets the closest, we will have talk after the session, and I'm going to send you out a full kit of all of our books that you can either use for yourself or give to someone else. So my question is, our latest book, and we've been doing a lot of research, and one of my researchers is on with me, on the history of African Americans, inventors and innovators. And so my question is around, when was the first patent given to an African American in the United States? When was the first patent given to an African American in the United States? So the first person who types in the closest date, now everybody's Googling, okay. Too much time.
All right, I see.
Okay, I got a first try. We're gonna give you, about 30 more seconds, and then we're gonna evaluate the answers. Good answer, I like that.
Oh, I see a number. I see 1950, 18, 21. Any other guesses?
Going once.
1968. Oh, I see you, Charlie.
I think we have a winner.
All right, we do have a winner. So our winner is it Tatiana? Wait.
So Tatiana, you're gonna be getting some books.
Oh my goodness, that is such a great. Congratulations. Oh, you're gonna be reading, girl. That's awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, y'all, my heart is smiling. This has been so insightful, so informational. And yes, I have my experts on here. And so, and what I love about these ladies is the fact that they're passionate about what they do. They love their work, they love their students, they love the parents, and that's why we're here. We want to make sure that you're not distressed, you're not anxious. Yeah, there's going to be some stressors, but we don't want you for it to overtake you. So we want to provide those resources. So if you were able to leave your email in the chat, if you weren't able, if you just got to a link and you didn't have a chance to share your email, we do plan on sending the resources to you, so you can reach out to to each of to Tara Lee and to Jacqueline. And if you go to our website or on our IG page, it's STEAM Secrets. So STEAM. It's a dot secrets SECRETS. That's the hashtag on Instagram, and on all the flyers. Pretty much, they're you can follow them on social media, and then we'll put it on the chat as well. So everyone has their websites, their resources, and I hope this was very informational. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions for Jacqueline. Let's see. Are you able to see the Q&A, Jacqueline?
We're talking about our inventor and
Oh.
the correct answer. But any questions?
All right. Yep. So she has her handle on there. Please follow, like, and share. And so tomorrow, this is just day one, and day one rocked. All right. I'm sorry. I just get so excited. All right. So day one was amazing. Thank you so much, ladies. We next tomorrow we'll have 3 experts. If you want to know who's what the presentation and the topics they're discussing, just follow us. You can go on our website, www.steamsecrets.com, and please share the link. Let the parents know that we are here. They don't have to do this on their own. We are here. And even though Jacqueline and Tara Lee was here today, they'll probably stop in tomorrow if you have questions. And so I do plan on posting some of the stuff for content. And our goal is, after these 3 days, that you get access to what we've had a chance to discuss. And there's so many resources, and they are definitely the go-to people for them. So thank you again for reaching out. Oh, this has been a wonderful, thank you, Dawn. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Please come back tomorrow. There's more. This is just day one, and we started strong.
Yes.
Strong. So,
thank you, Coach Roach.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes. And we're very, I'm just so happy. Sometimes in life, what is life if you're not living in purpose? And that's what I believe in. Every summer I spend time, and I try to find ways to make this world better. I know it sounds kind of quotable and all that stuff, but that's what I do. I literally figure out how can I make this world a little better? What's my part? And this summer, my heart was with parents. I felt their anxiety. I felt the stressors from the fourth quarter, and I was determined to help them. And that's when I reached out to our experts. They said yes, and here we are presenting and giving you information to make it a little bit easier for you this summer, this fall, and who knows how much longer. So thank you for joining us. We are looking to seeing you tomorrow. Please share the link. Let people know that we are here. We're here to help, and we're here to do our part. So, day one, Steam Secrets. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for coming out.